Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Tsague. I am here with, actually, the one who makes all the numbers work for Nehemiah. She's an outsourced chief financial officer. She's with Dragon 360, Robin Geertz, the money lady.
Thank you, Patrice.
Robin, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Well, Rob, the pleasure is mine. And of course, there's so much I can talk with you about, and we're going to have you come back because of your expertise in finance. But today, of course, we want to talk about the highlight for Nehemiah Week 2020. You were an attendee there, and you've just had some great things to share. I thought, you know what, let's have Robin into the studio so we can kind of hear some of the things that she shared. But Robin, before we get into Nehemiah Week and how that was, I want our listeners to know a bit more about Dragonfly 360, your company. We are one of your clients. You are our outsourced CFO. By the way, is that common for you? I know you have a lot of clients, but and I know that there are companies out there who actually do outsource CFO work. Is that, are we the only one that call you that, or are there other clients who see you in the same way we do? So tell us about Dragonfly and what it is, what kind of service you provide, and who your customer segments are, so that our listeners can understand exactly who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So what a great lead-in question. So we, our clients do sometimes see us as their contract CFOs. Dragonfly is just a little bit of a twist, though. We are CPAs, but we're also management consultants. My background is not only in accounting leadership, but it's also in process and systems improvement, some fairly large projects I've led. And so really Dragonfly is, we think of ourselves as CPAs with a twist. So, and our focus is really on helping our clients improve their profitability, understanding their numbers and what their numbers are telling them. So that's really Dragonfly in a nutshell, and how we're different than contract CFO companies.
Wow, and you are good at what you do. How I met Robin, I'm one of the board members for if Bill is watching, if Bill said, Patrice, how soon you forget us with the Cornerstone? And I remember a board meeting where was the first time I think meeting you, and you were just sharp. And I said, that really intrigued me. And so we reached out, and the rest is history. And you've been, for me, because every chief executive officer need a leader in their finance, whether they have them on their staff or whether they have them as a contractor, because you give me peace of mind. I say, Robert, and you know how to do all kinds of wonders with numbers.
Thank you.
So you've been a godsend. So if you need a contract CFO, I highly recommend Dragon 360. If you just have a project that you're looking for, what's also neat about Robin, and let me get Robin into your background, because you come at it from like an auditor. I mean, you find stuff, and you have brought a lot of our CPA and our book. I mean, they all, when Robin takes the work, you ask questions that nobody asks, and you make me feel like my people has been incompetent all this while. So what prepared you for this? I mean, and because how you look at it, you're not just a bean counter, but you are a business person working with numbers. Sometimes you're a marketer, because you approach it from a very different perspective. What prepared you for this?
Well, definitely, God's had this plan that I didn't see a lot of times throughout my career. I started out in computer programming. I was going to be a programmer, design software. And growing up, I even thought I was going to do something creative. So I tell people I tripped and fell into accounting, but it was a good thing. Math, problem solving, trying to help really individuals understand how they can do better, leaders within a company. So I think what makes me different is that I am a strategic thinker. Most accountants, their personality tests are the opposite of mine. They may be introverts or and such. But I think for me, the biggest thing is I love strategy. So 3 of my top 5 strengths are in strategy. And I love people. I love helping people. So I think that just differentiates me from maybe what other accountants might look like. And then I think just when I think about the plan that God has had for me throughout my career, that I didn't really spend a lot of time early on thinking about the individuals he put in my path, including Patrice, you. I mean, if it wasn't for Cornerstone Christian, who, by the way, my daughter goes to their school, and that's just been such a blessing. But if it wasn't for those experiences, if it wasn't for meeting you, I wouldn't be meeting more entrepreneurs that are so inspiring. So I definitely am appreciating the many blessings. So,
awesome. And you definitely
I got off a little, sorry.
No. And you're definitely a connector because every time we do something together, your mind begins to kind of connect. But one would think, though, Robin, that as an extrovert with your kind of personality type, that CPA numbers is the last thing you would want to do.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so tell me, what's different about Robin? How come you can be an extrovert, people-oriented person, but yet able to grab numbers, and some of us just can't?
Yeah, I'm fortunate that I can flex pretty easily. So even my personality tests, I am maybe more of an extrovert, but I can flex between the abstract thinking, the big picture thinking, and the detail thinking, which makes it easy for me to act as a liaison to help people understand the details of their numbers, all the way to how that plays into their strategies and how that helps them with their strategies. So I feel fortunate in that respect. I think the other thing that makes me unique is because I love systems and I love processes. Being a CPA, a lot of times people think it's just about the numbers, just about financial statements. But really, if you're a strong CPA, you understand enough about process. You understand enough about how that process may hurt or help your internal controls and the success of your organization. So a lot of times CPAs, we get kind of a bad rap as being these really, super nerdy, analytical types, but some of us are pretty strong in strategy as well. And so I kind of feel like that's kind of my niche. My differentiation is my ability to see systems and processes. You'd mentioned, do you mind if I just say, you'd mentioned my auditing, my deeper dive into certain, numbers in a way that you're like, wait, I'm pointing out some stuff, and that may have surprised you, but I think part of it is my curiosity for understanding what, like, if you think of somebody lifting the hood, like a mechanic, somebody that cars, they want to know what's behind that. They want to lift up the car and see what's making it tick. And I feel like that is part of what differentiates me, that and my care for people. So my care for Nehemiah and seeing your organization being as strong as possible and wanting to lift the hood to make sure that your car is running really well. So.
Wow. And by the way, and she does that. As a matter of fact, you were instrumental in us. We just recently got a Murdoch Trust grant, and you helped make the numbers sing. And the peace of mind, again, if you're watching and listening, having a Robin as part of your team, whether it's her or somebody like her, the peace of mind it gives you as a leader, it's priceless, right? I just say, Robin, what do you do here? And that partnership, because as a visionary leader, you know where you're trying to go. You may know your numbers. As you all know, we coach and train entrepreneurs to know the numbers at a macro level. But when it comes to the fiscal understanding of them, how it fits, reporting, looping it back to investors, to the IRS and so forth, so on, you need a Robin because she brings it together. As a matter of fact, on my board meetings, she does our financial reports to our board. And she makes me look good. And that helps me to focus on the operational part of the business, and then bounce off her the numbers. And because of her creative mind, her bent on strategy, it allows for her not to connect at that level. And then she takes it on the numbers side and I take it on the operational marketing side. And that works real well. Well, Robin, you've been an asset to us. We are grateful for you, and we look forward for even a deeper partnership. Sam, one of our team members out of Malaysia, says hello. She says, I like it. CPA with a twist.
Oh, hi, Sam.
Now, Robin, I think it's what, been 2-3 years that you've been in business?
Yeah, a little over 2 years. Yes.
Over 2 years. So
yes.
You are, we consider in as you know, in biblical entrepreneurship, if you've not yet been profitable, we consider you a startup, right?
Yes.
So in terms of age, you probably because you're trying to build a system and a team, because you would be probably just you as a solopreneur, but you're trying to build an organization, so you kind of still in a startup phase.
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What led you? I mean, you were with a very reputable company that actually your husband worked for. You have risen in rank. You were doing well. Why would somebody like that leaves a well-suited position that making all kinds of money for entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I've been fortunate, been blessed to work for actually a few reputable companies that are quite large, that are mid to large size in insurance, utility, and manufacturing. And so I was fortunate in all of that. And I have no regrets of those experiences and opportunities. I totally feel like since I was young, before I was an adult, I felt like there was this pull, this calling for me to be an entrepreneur, but I was overthinking it. And I think that's what happens when we try to do things as human beings and we're not, praying and asking God for guidance. I felt like I was trying to make it too difficult. I was trying to think of what products could I sell? What can I make to sell? And so I was making it harder than it needed to be. And I always had that pull. For me, it was this moment about 3 years ago. For many people that don't have faith, they probably think this is just kind of this nutty story. But for me, it was this moment where I was walking out, I was working for a company, walking out to the parking lot, and this dragonfly came up alongside me and was flying alongside me in this long parking lot. And I had this moment that was just felt really kind of odd. I started thinking about my stepmom who'd passed away of cancer. And that experience made me think about her. But more importantly, it made me think about, what if this was God somehow trying to get a message to me, what might it be? And that wasn't just one time. 3 weeks later, I had a dragonfly fly into my car and hover in my face like it was staring at me and then land on the other window. And again, these really odd moments where if we weren't strong in our faith, we may not even reflect on, is there something else that I'm supposed to be called to do? And that night I went home and was looking at, does dragonfly symbolize anything? They stand for transformation. And in that moment, I went home, I talked to my husband and I said, maybe I'm supposed to be doing something else. I feel like this pull. And so I told him I've always wanted to get my MBA. He supported that effort. I jumped in, got started going to get my MBA, and the entrepreneurship class right out of the gate that I took just really opened my eyes and my heart to like, wait, I need to rethink this. Again, I'm trying to make this harder than it needs to be. And a year before I started my business, I wrote a paper that I was going to start a dragonfly. It was called Dragonfly Business Solutions. And I later changed it to Dragonfly 360. So for me, it was a leap of faith. And right before we started our company, one of my past employers had contacted me to ask if I could do some consulting work. And I was working full time. I was working on my MBA. And she contacted me to say, hey, our company's grown. We need your help. And I'm thinking, I cannot take on one more thing. But I think it was just God saying, it's time. It's time.
Wow.
I'm so, and I'm glad that we did it. We took the faith, we took the leap of faith.
I love entrepreneurial stories because as people are watching and listening, some of them may be at a startup stage or even ideation stage, what we call discovery. And just hearing your story lets them know it is possible. What's been, when you think about you've living corporate, very secure position with, Fortune 500 mid to large size enterprise companies where you had all kinds of benefits and all kinds of comforts. When you think about now being an entrepreneur, what do you miss the most about corporate life?
I think there is a certain amount of stability you just have. It's tied to compensation. It really is. It's you, when you're in accounting leadership and you work your way up and you become part of senior management, you get this comfort that comes with those kind of positions in the way of compensation and benefits and just knowing how much you're going to get. Every couple of weeks, you just know. And so there's a certain amount of comfort. And guess what? I found that I was leaning so much on that comfort that I was trusting in what plan that God may be having for me that wasn't about just defining myself based on how much money I made. I think the biggest thing was getting uncomfortable and to realize that my how I measure success, if I'm measuring it just on money alone, well, number one, I would be succeeding in the corporate America world. As an entrepreneur, I'm realizing that I'm still somewhat failing because I don't make what I made in corporate America, but I have this sense of peace and enjoyment knowing that I'm helping businesses and that making a difference, that is a way of measuring success, like you're contributing to a greater good.
Wow. And is that kind of what you enjoy the most about this journey? Is what you just said there?
Yeah, it really is. It's these moments when I'm finding something that's not always comfortable to talk about with an owner, to say, oh, I found this problem in your financials. So that's not always the fun part, but what's nice is building their trust and helping them to understand how they can improve it and get better. So yeah, it does feel good. It's building that trust. And, even though it can be a little bit of a slow go when you start out as an entrepreneur, because people are not looking for you. They're not looking for me the way I expected them to. When they're looking for like tax CPAs. They're like, can you do my taxes? And so there's definitely some struggles there trying to explain that we're a little bit more than that, so.
So could you explain that for our viewers and listeners? What is the difference? Because some people may not understand the difference. What's between a tax CPA, a bookkeeper, and what you do?
Yeah, great. So if you think of, there's different specialists in the medical field. You go to your internal medicine doctor, your general practitioner, for a checkup. That general practitioner is going to have credentials like most CPAs would have, in the way of, they're going to have their degree, they're going to have a license to practice, they're going to have standards that they have to follow and education that they have to maintain. So that's not unlike any CPA. But then what happens is we often branch off into areas of specialty. Tax CPAs, there can be two different types of tax CPAs. One that's more there are some just tax preparers that aren't CPAs that are just oftentimes preparing taxes. And then there's the tax CPAs that are the strategists that help you to find ways in the tax code to improve your cash flow, reduce your tax liability. So those are like examples of specialists. Bookkeepers are different from CPAs. Many bookkeepers may have a few accounting classes under their belt, but very few bookkeepers have a college degree. So that's one of the big differentiators. To be a CPA, you have to have almost a master's degree in accounting or business to even sit for the exam. So I had almost a master's degree in business at the time that I sat for the exam, and I've subsequently got my MBA. So that's one of the differentiators. I think the other thing is the standards we have to follow. So a bookkeeper doesn't have to follow rigorous standards, in the way of, we have to be tested for ethics every 3 years. We have to take 40 hours of continuous education every year. So we are, you wouldn't go to a nurse if you're having a health issue. You'd go to a doctor. And then if you were having a heart condition or something else that takes a specialist, you'd go to that specialist. So think of Dragonfly as your doctor you come to. And we have a certain area of expertise, but to the extent you need some additional services, the great thing is we have great connections in the way of, and that's where I do like the connections, we have Nehemiah. We have the e-community that we can call on with Nehemiah doing training and coaching. We have specialists that focus on marketing. We have specialists that focus on lean methodologies and process improvement for specific industries. So think of it that way. If you want a specialist that understands numbers really well and that can look beyond the numbers and help you to understand what you need to improve to increase your profitability and cash flow, you come to individuals like us or Dragonfly 360.
I love a good insight. In my new book, which is not yet published, but we do have chapter 1 available. If you go to Victor, if you could put up the chapter 1 of the new book, or the link for the new book called Biblical Entrepreneurship Essentials: The Foundational Guide to Building a Kingdom Company. I kind of give the reader a guide in terms of how to come to that place where passion and skill meets entrepreneurship opportunity, right? And you really reflect that ideal situation, right? You reflect passion, a clear marketable skill, right? A market opportunity that is growing, and a desire to move beyond it being a hobby into truly being an enterprise and a business. And that really good. Robin, like many of us, you went through COVID-19.
Yes.
And you've had to figure it out, how to navigate it. How has it impacted you and your business, particularly being a startup?
Yeah, it's totally, well, most of us would say it's been a bit crazy. It really has. Early on, I was bracing myself. I thought mid-March, things are going to come to a screeching halt, because I figured business owners are going to be pulling back on any kind of contract work because they're going to be trying to hold on to their cash. I found just the opposite in March. My business picked up to where I was working oftentimes till 1 or 2 in the morning, trying to help clients out. And so that picked up pretty strongly. This past month, it's been a little bit different. It's a little bit slower, but I'm trying to reflect on what am I supposed to get out of this moment? And I haven't always done that well in the past, as I mentioned in my career. And so in this moment, I just feel like there's some other things that God is leading me to do right now to help my business and to help other businesses. And so I'm using this right now to really to work on the business. And many of us entrepreneurs, as you know, Patrice, we spend so much time working in the business that we don't always have enough time to step back and think about strategy and working on the business. So this past month, I've been really using this time to say, how can I continue to grow Dragonfly? Because as you mentioned, if I was just working on my own and not trying to build a team or build a company, I would have already felt like I was successful by now. But because I want to grow Dragonfly 360 and I want to help more companies nationally, globally, that means I have to keep focusing on strategy.
Wow, I love it. And that you do well. Robin, also, it's important for our audience to understand too that you actually married to another CPA. That must be weird. So how's that experience like? They have an interesting story, Robin and my husband, where Robin actually had he wasn't your boss, but he was definitely higher ranked than you, right?
Yeah. So we were actually similar ranking, but we worked in different departments. So where we'd worked.
So you were peers where you worked.
Yeah. So he worked in the front office, the operations side, as a leader, and I worked in what they call back office. I was leading an accounting and regulatory team, and ultimately my team was responsible for accounting for his the deals that he entered into, and so you can imagine that that's not favorable from the company's executive perspective, to be dating two people dating within the company, and we were. Because of our own wiring and integrity, we were all out there on, very upfront with our bosses, and that we had, developed another. So it was all in the up and up. But yeah,
he was signing up on these were big deals. I mean, could you give us nice dollar deals? These were like
so my team was responsible for about $500 million in costs per year, and so we ultimately accounted for multi-million-dollar deals in the way of settlements. And so I ultimately had authorization to approve the wires of multi-million dollars. So for that reasons, and plus a publicly traded company, there's a lot of regulation, or especially since Sarbanes-Oxley came out. And so a lot of that regulation was really about making sure that you have a number of processes and risk management kind of objectives in place. And so, yeah, this was not small potatoes by any means. So, yeah.
And so that, wow, that must have been interesting. So so I'm wondering, your first date, how was it like? Was it kind of like, oh, talk about the numbers of last month? I mean,
No. In fact, I don't think we would have been drawn to one another all about that. I joke that I fell for him when he was talking about he would do really sophisticated financial hedging deals. So he would do on a national and even international basis. He'd work with these financial institutions to lock in prices. And there's a lot that can go into that work. And so I jokingly tell people it was because he was talking to me about that my heart started pattering. But that's not true.
The way he talked about that, huh?
Yeah. I think that we would get bored easily if we were just these complete like numbers nerds. But both Alan and I, we have a heart for our family. We love our family. He was raised in the church. And I think that I felt like our faith brought us together too. I think our love of our family, and just so many other things that we love that have nothing to do with numbers that I think us together. So, yeah.
I love it. So, and I know Alan is a little bit more reserved than you, Robin, but maybe one day I'd love to have him in studio to talk about that courtship, office romance, and talk about how that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. So you then, when you were not connected, you bought one of my books and you read it, and you really got intrigued with Biblical Entrepreneurship Project. And as an entrepreneur, you had your MBA, you've led teams in corporate America, you've been successful as a professional and trained CPA, but yet you found the Nehemiah Project intriguing and what we're teaching. What was it about Nehemiah Project that really drew you in, as to, even though you had an MBA already and all the things experienced, what was it that kind of drew you in?
I felt like Nehemiah helped to reconcile my brain to my heart. So a lot of times people would say, "Oh, Robin, you carry your heart on your sleeve. You're so nice, or you're always giving things away. You're always trying to take on big projects to help others." And for me, I felt led to do some of that. I felt like like the resources that you have available tells us it's okay to be that way. It's good to be that way. And one of the things early on in my business, I would have people say, "Oh, Robin, you keep giving such large discounts to your clients. You're never going to make money, and you're giving away so much services." And I'm like, "Yeah, but my heart feels like I'm led to do some of this work." And so I felt like, so a couple things. I felt like the biblical entrepreneurship, the principles that you teach are so important to those of us that live by our faith and integrity, or that just want to grow more in our knowledge of the Bible and how it connects to our entrepreneurship world. But I think the other thing that comes to mind for me is I wish I had the book right in front of me. I'm so sorry. But one of the early on chapters was about profitability. Patrice, my heart, oftentimes, even though I'm in numbers and I talk about helping clients with profitability, I often would feel guilty if I was charging too high of a rate. And I'd have people say, "Robin, if you undercharge, you're going to look like you're not bringing any value. You have other CPAs that charge twice what you charge, 3 times what you charge." And they'll say, you got to charge more. In this chapter, you talk about profitability, that God wants us to be profitable. And that for me felt foreign. I kept thinking that profitable meant that I am taking and giving enough. And I saw it differently. So I think tying back what's expected of us as entrepreneurs from a biblical entrepreneurship standpoint, biblical principle standpoint, I think is very helpful. So I definitely feel drawn to Nehemiah for opening my eyes to a perspective that I hadn't really thought about.
Wow, that's good stuff. Again, we're talking to Robin Geertz. She's the founder and CEO of Dragonfly 360. She also serves as our contract CFO, and she has many clients around the nation that she serves. and she provides just that comprehensive financial and accounting support around strategy and really help you get control of your numbers and your profitability. We talked about her experience with Nehemiah Project, and Nehemiah Week in particular, and now we're going to get into it. So Robin, you were one of the individuals who signed up for Nehemiah Week. First of all, when you were signing up for Nehemiah Week, what were you expecting? Take your mind back to you. Of course, you knew us, but then you registered for this online conference, digital conference. What were you expecting?
Oh man, my expectations were honestly low, but not because of Nehemiah. It was because of the digital environment. And I was so excited to get to my first Nehemiah conference in Mexico City. And you and Gina had talked so much about Nehemiah Week and all the people that I was going to be meeting and just all the fellow entrepreneurs. And it was more than that. All these people that shared a common, faith, love for God. And I was so excited about that I felt like already I was expecting this. But then when COVID set in, I'm thinking, oh, another online training. I wasn't looking forward to it. I really wasn't. But I signed up because I'm thinking, you know what? I love what Nehemiah stands for. I love that you're helping to grow jobs on an international level and that you're helping entrepreneurs on an international level. I love that. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn from it. So now ask me the important question.
Wow. So what I love is that a lot of your motive was really to give back, right? To be a part of a movement. And it was very little about what you really get presently out of it. It was and by the way, let me say this too. Robin is also one of our donors. Robin, you are one of our sponsors. You helping us create jobs around the globe. First of all, thank you for that. It's one of those individuals. We have a number of people around the nation, around the world, who help us by sponsoring a job, entrepreneur, a business, or whatever that enables us to make biblical entrepreneurship in our coaching program accessible to entrepreneurs around the world. Robin, we were just talking today with an entrepreneur, two gentlemen out of Asia, about from Singapore, about how to run BE classes in that market and how they really want us to strengthen our presence in Asia. And we just kind of making the sense to how to make it accessible for them. And of course, Singapore has a strong economy, but not the other countries around Asia, right? And so we're just talking about that. And then also yesterday, we had another situation with another person from Madagascar, where we're looking at not only giving them an opportunity through our scholarship fund to. Here's what's interesting. So we provided loans to this business over the years, and they've been so faithful. But because of COVID, the value of their currency fell significantly. So she made a simple request: would you guys mind me doing my repayment at the pre-COVID currency exchange rate? And we're looking at that. We said, you know what, we'll do it. And you know what happens? How we do that? Well, we pay the investors the same. The investors, nothing impact there. But Nehemiah, through our scholarship fund, makes up the difference so that we can help stabilize. And that's people like yourself allows us to be able to come alongside entrepreneurs who are faithfully doing what God called them to do and who come through to difficult time to either get into our program or be sustained as they face difficult time. So thank you, Robin, for that. That kind of support. So Robin, so you started for the Nehemiah Week because you have this low bar. So what was the experience like? Was it as bad as you thought?
Yeah, I forgot to say, one of the other things is I love to learn. So, and when it comes to like leadership strengths, one of my top 5 is I'm a learner. I love to learn. And so when I signed up for Nehemiah, I'm thinking, I'm going to learn from these entrepreneurs, what's worked and didn't work for them internationally. And so it really wasn't just about what can I learn to then give back. So I'm just going to tell you, I was kind of somewhat selfish too, saying, okay, what can I learn from them? And oh my goodness, it blew me away. The first day in of 5 days, Patrice, I'm not a morning person. You know that. I'll work till 1 or 2 in the morning, the other end, but I'm not a morning person. And let me tell you, I woke up and the very first thing was worship, singing, from Africa. Oh no, I think maybe they were in France, but the group.
Yes, they were out of France, but they were
originally
African immigrants in France.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, so much joy. So I woke up to that, so inspired, and just out of the gate, learning galore. The way you handled your team, you and your team handled the whole Nehemiah week, the breakout sessions, I was so impressed with, because early on when I signed up, I love that you asked, okay, these are the speakers that are going to be speaking throughout the week. And you get some choices, of which classes you want to attend. And even from a technology standpoint, how you handle the breakout sessions so that it was seamless to us as observers, as participants in Nehemiah week. We would automatically get like we were, I don't know, like on Star Trek or something. We get another location, and all of a sudden we'd be in this workshop with a speaker that was speaking to an area that we were extremely interested in. I can't even say enough. The variety of speakers and their expertise, their subject matter expertise. So in the world of process and systems improvement, we often refer to SMEs, which is subject matter expertise. And you had so many, and then plus their faith and their values, just so inspiring. So yeah, I'm gushing. I'll stop now.
Wow. So when you think about the entire big experience, if you had to pick one thing that you like most about it, what would it be?
Oh man, I was afraid you were going to ask that, because I'd struggle with choosing just one thing. No, you know what? I'm going to say this. So I love the breakout session. I love that we could choose the areas that we want to focus on. But I think the connectivity, a lot of times, you may go to a presentation in person or online where somebody is speaking at you, and that even though somebody may be the expert and you may expect that, it's, to me, I don't feel as engaged as somebody inviting me to ask questions and interacting. So I think the interactive piece of Nehemiah week made us feel like we were there in person. You would invite through the chats, and you were constantly looking at the chats, just letting it flow and then ignoring them. You and your co-hosts, Susan and other speakers would look at the chats, and they would answer the questions that individuals were wanting to know more about. Or sometimes people were just putting their feedback, because they were excited about something and they were commenting. So I think the interconnect, the interaction that you allow us to feel really engaged and be part of it.
Now, you are a connector. Mm-hmm. And this was a digital conference.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you make any meaningful connections?
Oh, I met several, and I'm so thankful. That's another area, I kind of expect it when you go to a conference, you're going to meet people, right? But I definitely felt like there were some individuals that spoke to my heart. So one individual you had kind of introduced me to already, a leader that you have brought on to work with your organization, Charles Geertz. Yes. Okay, not sure if I'm saying his name right. I apologize. Yes. So he's in charge of urban development for Nehemiah. Yep. So I connected with him outside of Nehemiah week, because I saw his questions and his engagement, his chats that impressed me. So I connected with him, because I definitely feel Portland metropolitan area, we need more of his area of passion and expertise to improve our area on so many levels. So he was one. Linda Parker, search engine optimization.
Yes, she told me.
Oh my goodness. In fact, if she's watching this, I owe you an email back. Because we've already chatted, and I'm so excited because she's got some ideas to help my website, my visibility. And I've already got a great group of consultants, marketing and communications folks that have been helping Dragonfly. So she would complement that. Yeah. And that was unexpected, totally unexpected. She's already got some great ideas. And then there are a couple individuals that network marketing. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about, how can Dragonfly use some of that area, and it's not unlike what Nehemiah does in the way of, we could sell resources and expertise so that we can help more businesses. If we're doing it just one company at a time with one analyst at a time, it's hard to help as many customers. So Tanya Landis and Cherie Hoffman both took to speak with me. So yes, thank you.
Wow, no problem. And I understand that you've been looking at helping with what you're doing with entrepreneurs in Kenya. And
yes, Nina. Yes,
Nina.
Mutegi.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yes. So I had a conversation with her and Frank a little over a week ago. I had actually reached out to her because of my experience working for Cornerstone Christian. I thought, man, she is leading and trying to transform a school in Kenya. And when she started, and she's she won your
2020.
Yeah. So she just blew me away with her strategies and the ideas that she has for growing that school. So I had a conversation with her, and you know what? It wasn't just about what they've already done with the school and what they want to do, but we talked about the economy in Kenya, and I got to tell you, it broke my heart. It broke my heart because they're struggling so much. And for me, where I think some of us entrepreneurs can make a difference is we can bring our expertise to help. And it's not always, again, I know profits, that's important, but I think it's also important that we give back, and to find out that Kenya has an economy where they're lucky. Some people are lucky if they're getting $12 to $20 a day, and that's the U.S. equivalent. Sometimes we might complain about our minimum wage of $13 or $14 an hour. But in Kenya, they're lucky in some cases to even make that in a day. And so it's quite heartbreaking. So I'm excited to think of ways that I might be able to help with the greater good. The big
picture. That is awesome. Well, Robin, you've been a huge asset to this process, and we look forward to working with you more and more. Robin, so would you recommend those who are watching? By the way, you might be watching and listening, says, oh, I missed Nehemiah Week. Well, guess what? We now have Nehemiah Week on demand 2020. And so right now it's only available for those who attended Nehemiah Week. So if you attend Nehemiah Week, you can go and log into eCommunity. You can go to your favorite session, the worship service, the devotional, the different breakouts. All of it is there. You can browse through on your own. And I've been watching and listening to it. Oh my God, it's just as good without the interaction, obviously, as it was when we first had it. However, we're going to, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to run a special, have it available for those who did not attend the week. For a small registration fee, you'll be able to access the entire week. Even if you weren't there, we'll make that available as well. So just be on the alert keep that on the alert. So, Robin, somebody's watching this. So why would you recommend that they either sign up for the Nehemiah Week now or come back next year?
So I think that they need to sign up. If they weren't part of 2020, they should sign up and get that deal to be able to watch all of the presenters, just the whole Nehemiah week that they missed out on, because there is just a plethora of information that is so helpful for entrepreneurs, especially those that want to lead with our faith in mind and our, really follow biblical principles. I think the other thing is, I forgot to mention, the e-community, the technology that you have. So they need to get the 2020, they need to next year, because I am definitely signing up for next year. And be an e-community membership. I mean, to even a bronze membership that you offer for free.
Which is free. Yeah.
I know, just for them to get a taste of the network. And then, I highly recommend it. So,
wow. So, again, talking to Robin Geertz, we're coming to the end of our time here. She's with Dragonfly 360, a full-service financial and accounting service firm here in the Pacific Northwest. And by the way, a lot of folks around the nation are worried about us here in Portland, Vancouver. We are fine. Yes, there are some issues downtown Portland, but it's not all Portland that is impacted. We do pray for our city, for our leadership, and of course for the things happening downtown in the city. By the way, Robin, because people are watching and say, wow, they're in Portland, so are they burning up over there? What's your response there, Robin? Because I get calls all the time.
Yeah, I get that too. And although I have not, because I live in Vancouver, I just have not been into downtown Portland recently. I worked in downtown Portland most of my career.
Yeah.
And thankfully I have connections, friends that are downtown working, and several people have said it is not as bad as what the media is putting out there. There's definitely some areas where there's a lot of turmoil, and honestly, justifiably so in some cases. But when I'm thinking the peaceful side of
the peaceful part of it,
unfortunately there have been some definitely challenges in the way of non-peaceful, protests that have gone on, and it's very unfortunate. But my understanding is it's not as bad as what the media is putting out there. So
that's right. That's right. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have a few guests come on board. We're going to have Christians from both sides of the political aisle to talk about why should we vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. We're going to have that discourse because for us here, we're concerned about faith and job creation and entrepreneurship, right? Yes. So we want them to make their case. Why will their guy be the guy to advance faith, entrepreneurship, and job creation? My problem, Rob, is that both sides believe that if the other guy wins, America is over as we know it.
Yes, yes.
So that's the challenge. That is the end of America, no matter who wins. So, I'm trying.
I'll be listening in on that podcast.
Yes,
and I'll be praying for you, Patrice.
Please pray for me. Please pray for me. Because I'm one of those guys. I'm a conservative, but I do believe that there are good Christian on both sides of the look. Jesus Christ is neither a Republican nor is a Democrat. Yes. Now, with that said, Robin, if you want to get in touch with Robin, because either you need her services, you have questions for her, or you want to go deeper in conversation with her, you can visit her at dragonfly360solutions.com, dragonfly360solutions.com. Her email address is there as well. Connect with her. She's also on the eCommunity platform. If you're a member of the eCommunity, you can just from there connect with her as well, and she'll get that as well. So consider her a part of your community. Robin, before we close, of course, we have the pandemic. We have in the U.S. racial tension, and around the world due to the pandemic, we also have the economic uncertainty. And of course, in the U.S., we have the presidential election coming up, which is deemed to be the defining election of our time. At least that's what the politicians say. Well, that brings a lot of uncertainty for entrepreneurs. So what word of encouragement advice what are your parting words for entrepreneurs, not only in the U.S., but around the globe, as they try to navigate their way through these trying moments?
Yeah, I think the important thing is just knowing when we need outside help and not trying to do everything on our own. There are so many organizations and companies, even like Dragonfly, that will offer some free consulting just to at least give somebody some ideas, some tips on where to go next. I can say specifically some areas where businesses can focus, obviously in the way of cost cutting. Be really careful in the costs you cut. And, a lot of times we can get so scared that we can make drastic decisions that can harm our company long term. And so I think it's really important to contact specialists. And as much as it's all about a pitch for Dragonfly 360, it really is about if you have a CPA, you have a CFO that you can trust, either if they're working for you, but go to a specialist. You don't want to go to a nurse if you've got some sort of a major issue going on. A nurse there's a time and a place in the medical field for nurses and medical assistants and even internal medicine, just doctors, general practitioners. But if you need an expert, go to an expert, and certainly if you want to contact Dragonfly 360, we will offer free consultations And so if you want to contact us on our website, dragonfly360solutions.com, reach out to us. And what we may not have, if there's an area that we don't have expertise in, we have a number of connections that we can get you in contact with, including the tax CPAs as well. We don't handle taxes, but we've got contacts that do. So.
Wow. Awesome. Again, if you want to know more about Robin or visit her, connect with her, visit her at dragonfly360solutions.com, solutions with an S.com. If you're a member of the e-community, just go ahead and connect with her through that platform on the directory. You can also email her on her email address, which is right here. Guys, I pray you've enjoyed our podcast. Robin, thank you for being here. And by the way, Robin will be one of our 2021 speakers for me and my I can't wait, because our theme next year is going to be how to thrive in the midst of crisis. And she's going to address, of course, the financial area, right? How do you thrive financially in the midst of crisis? Robin, we look forward to hearing from you then and learning more from you. We're going to have you back in studio before then as well. Robin, again, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Patrice.
Look forward to a continued partnership.
Patrice, thanks for all you do. Truly.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Don't you leave yet, because I want to pray for you. But before I pray for you, if you want more information about Nehemiah Project and how we can come alongside you and partner with you to help with your existing business or to launch a kingdom company, visit our website, nehemiahecommunity.com, nehemiahecommunity.com. There you can learn how we can provide you with training, with coaching, and with access to capital, and also how you can plug into our community so that together we can transform the world. With that said, I want you to share this podcast, share with your friends, with your family, put on your social media, because if this bless you, it may also bless somebody else. Maybe you know someone who is concerned about their finances. They need to know and connect with a Robin. They need to be inspired by something Robin said. Share with them. Or they're an executive at a job and they're looking for, should I step out there in faith and launch my own business? Share this, because maybe Robin's story can encourage them as well.
So maybe I'll say a prayer, and unless he comes back on. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all you do for us. Please continue to guide us as entrepreneurs to walk in your way. Thank you so much for Nehemiah Project International Ministries and all that they do for entrepreneurs around the world. In Jesus' name, amen.